Good morning, everyone. My name is Jibu Elias, and welcome to the second anniversary of the National AI Portal. INDIAai, or the National AI Portal of the Government of India, focus on creating and nurturing a unified AI ecosystem in the country to drive excellence and leadership in knowledge creation and to develop an AI-ready, robust workforce for the future and use AI for the fostering economic growth. Launched in May 2020 by then the Honorable Minister of IT, Shri Ravi Shankar Prasad, the portal has created a significant presence in India's AI community. Today, as we complete the second year of its existence, we have lined up an exciting event for you. The event will feature video showcases of the second year achievement of INDIAai, as well as testimonial from some of the users and the members of the community of the portal. We will be also featuring a launch of an AI literacy booklet called AI for Everyone, and finally a fireside chat featuring two of India's most prominent AI leaders, Mr. Abhishek Singh, the President and CEO of NeGD, and Ms. Debjani Ghosh, President of NASSCOM. So let's begin our event today, and now I request Mr. Vinay Thakur, COO of NeGD, who has been one of the leading figures in India's e-governance space, to deliver the welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jibu, and very good morning. We are meeting today to celebrate the second anniversary of National AI Portal. And we have with us all the registered users of National AI Portal. We have the representative from state governments and central government. Sir, dignitaries of the day, Sri Abhishek Singh ji, President and CEO of NeGD, MD of Digital India Corporation and CEO of MyGov. Ma'am Debjani Ghosh, President NASSCOM. Sangeetha Gupta, Ma'am, Vice President NASSCOM, all practitioner of AI, AI researcher, professional from tech industry and startups. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome one and all to this important milestone of National AI Portal. As told by Jibu, that National AI Portal was launched on 30th May 2020 by then Honorable Minister of Electronics and IT. And today we are completing 2 years, and that too with great success. The portal provide one-stop solution and information for all kind of development in AI and AI related works in India and across the globe. In its journey of 2 years, we have often exceeded all its targets, all the targets which we have planned, and then seen to it that whatsoever is happening in AI sphere is taken care of and is provided to all the users of this portal. Since inauguration, the portal has been visited by around 4.5 lakh users, and it has 1.2 million page views. Currently, it has around 1,150 articles on AI, 700 plus news stories, 98 reports, 95 case studies, and around 213 videos. It is one of the best databases of India's AI ecosystem, which is featuring around 121 government initiatives and 281 AI startups in the country. The portal is also one of the best collection of national strategies and AI initiative across the globe. The details, AI details of 36 countries. The portal has played very, very important role in nurturing the AI ecosystem through numerous impactful initiatives like Lab to Market, Women in AI, AI patent reports, Responsible AI Handbook for Startups, Responsible AI Startup Survey, podcast, and AI standards. Entire Responsible AI for Social Empowerment RAISE event, all the videos, all the sessions of it are also hosted on this portal, and which provide and makes it as a rich source of all the AI happening in the world through this. We also had interactions in the past, and they also featured on this. NVIDIA founder and CEO Jensen Huang, guest authors like Santanu Bhattacharya ji, Vishal Duper, Craig Palmer, and some of the leading names in AI. We are entering today in the third year, and portal will focus further on AI literacy and building and promoting India's perspective on AI adoption, AI ethics, and an entire implementation approach. India AI team comprising of officials of Ministry of Electronics and AI, Sir has been leading, Abhishek Singh ji has been leading these efforts, Kavita Bhatia, Mayank, my colleague in NAGD, Brahmanand Jha. Similarly, the NASSCOM team consisting of Ma'am, President, Vice President, Jibu, Asna, and everyone has been connecting and then collating details, materials related to AI work in India, domestic as well as the international. And then further, we will see to it that we connect with more and more tech stalwart, freelancers, decision makers, practitioners, and researchers on this. We are very, very thankful. India AI team is very thankful to Sir Abhishek Singh ji. This milestone achieved today wouldn't have been possible without his guidance and his getting into each and everything of the portal related to AI. He has been conducting a lot of AI for Charcha programs, which are being attended by a lot of users and practitioners across India and world. And we are also very thankful to Debjani Ghosh ma'am for spearheading the technology, IT-enabled industry, as well as the AI ecosystem and providing guidance and support on regular basis. Today we have as Jibu was saying, we have a fireside session between both of them on the topic, how do we ensure that India's AI adoption benefits the bottom of pyramid? So I welcome both the dignitaries again. Today we have a short video also on AI journey of last 1 year, testimonial bites, release of AI booklet on AI literacy titled AI for Everyone. AI literacy is targeted towards building AI capacities among young minds and new learners. I am sure that these would be easy to read and comprehend for readers. On behalf of NEGD, Digital India Corporation, and MyGov, I welcome everyone again, and NASSCOM as well, for this, for joining in for today's time, today's event, and taking time for this. So thank you so much, and over to Jibu.
Thank you very much, sir, for that lovely welcome speech. So the National AI Portal had an amazing second year with so many impactful initiatives such as the Lab to Market, Women in AI Roundtable, the 75 at 75 report, the AI Pe Charchas videos, and so on. So let's look at how the second year of India AI was through a video. Thank you very much for that, for everyone for watching that video. Now we have one more video. One of our core focuses of India AI is community building, an effort that AI leaders such as Andrew Nang has praised previously. Over the past 2 years, the portal was able to provide information, some of the brilliant minds in India. So here is what India AI users has to say.
Hi, I'm Abhinav. As a student learning about AI,
I'm Amarjeet Kaur, working as a Senior Data Science Manager in Reliance Jio Infocom Limited.
Hello everyone, myself Lakshita. I'm an AI enthusiast and also a winner of Responsible AI for Youth National Program for the project Debjani Ghosh.
Hello everyone, I'm Muskan Sharma and I'm a final year student at Galgotias University.
Hi everyone, this is Priyanjit Ghosh, co-founder and CEO of INDIAai.
मेरा नाम वंशिका यादव है और मैं क्लास 10th की स्टूडेंट हूँ।
नमस्कार, मैं सुचिस्मिता दीक्षित, मैं जयती केसरी गवर्नमेंट हाई स्कूल की कक्षा 10वीं की छात्री हूँ।
I'm Shovik, an artificial intelligence enthusiast.
I was a bit concerned, like how can I convey my project to more and more people? Coincidentally, one day, India AI reached out to me and interviewed me about my project, and I was like, oh wow.
And I'm looking forward to have a career in artificial intelligence. INDIAai is an extremely useful website.
It has really helped us take our vision to various stakeholders and letting them know what we are doing.
सभी बच्चे इस साइट में अपलोड किए जा रहे नए नए आर्टिकल से प्रभावित होकर टेक्नोलॉजी में और ज़्यादा पढ़ाई करने के लिए उत्साहित हो रहे हैं। इंडिया को टेक्नोलॉजी के दिशा में आगे ले जाने के लिए एक बहुत अच्छा कार्यक्रम है।
I was developing something, an application for women's safety. I could never imagine such a big platform like INDIAai contacting me and bringing up my work, bringing up my story to the wider audience of whole India and outside.
I particularly like the breadth of topics covered in INDIAai, which includes topics like responsible AI, AI ethics and standards.
I feel it's a great initiative towards preparing the nation for AI future by empowering and enabling the whole AI ecosystem and building a strong baseline for more responsible AI across the domain.
it also helps me to find about various programs that is being conducted in all over India to encourage developments in AI. It also helps me as a platform to learn about AI.
And so there's a very strong need for a trustworthy AI portal, and INDIAai is just that.
जिसके लिए हमें AI को समझना और सीखना बहुत ही ज़रूरी है, और इसके लिए INDIAai एक बहुत ही अच्छा प्लेटफॉर्म है। इस वेबसाइट पर AI से रिलेटेड बहुत सारी नॉलेज गेन कर सकते हैं। इस वेबसाइट पे AI से रिलेटेड वीडियोस, डाटा सेट्स, INDIAai हमें AI रेडी बना रही है। थैंक यू INDIAai, थैंक यू।
Now we are moving on to the launch of our AI literacy booklet, which is called AI for Everyone. As artificial intelligence technologies are becoming more and more advanced, we are also reaching a critical point in human history. It is clear that the ones who will leverage these technologies are poised to gain upper hand in the coming years, while the ones who fail may perish. One way to address this challenge is to provide fundamental insights into what these technologies are and what are its capabilities as of today. With this in mind, INDIAai has created an AI for Everyone booklet. This booklet aims to inform and inspire the non-techies amongst us, especially children of all ages. This booklet is designed with the help of experts as a basic introduction to AI that a person of any age and background can comprehend. The booklet will also be soon translated and adopted into many prominent regional languages in our country in the coming months. I request our dignitaries, Mr. Abhishek Singh and Ms. Debjani Ghosh, to launch this booklet. that's the AI for Everyone booklet. You can all find the booklet at the website of the National AI Portal, which is indiaai.gov.in. Now, coming to the highlight of today's event, which is a fireside chat on how to ensure that the benefits of AI reach the grassroots level. Now, the speakers for this fireside chat are Mr. Abhishek Singh, the President and CEO of National E-Governance Division, CEO of MyGov and MD of Digital India Corporation, and Ms. Debjani Ghosh, the President of NASSCOM. I know both of the speakers doesn't need an introduction, but let me provide a short introduction. Mr. Abhishek Singh is one of the torchbearers of India's AI journey. He's an officer of 1995 batch of IAS with diverse experience in administration, managing law and order, implementing several national and state level programs. In his role as National E-Governance Division, he coordinates projects relating to Digital India, especially DigiLocker, Umang, Geoinformatics, and so on. He has been leading the efforts on communications on COVID-19 and was actively involved in projects such as Arogya Sedu and COVID. Welcome Abhishek Singh sir to this conversation. And the next speaker is Ms. Debjani Ghosh. Debjani Ghosh is the President of the National Association of Software and Service Companies, NASSCOM. She's a veteran of the technology industry and the 5th president of NASSCOM and the first woman at the helm of the organization. As a president of NASSCOM, she actively works with the industry and government to accelerate the growth of industry and strengthen India's position as a hub for innovation and digital talent. I welcome Debjani ma'am to this fireside chat. And finally, to moderate this fireside chat, I welcome Asna Siddiqui, the head of National AI Portal. Over to you, Asna.
So hello and a very warm welcome to our audience members joining in, and a special thank you to our guides and mentors at INDIAai, Ms. Debjani Ghosh and Mr. Abhishek Singh. It is an absolute joy and honor to be speaking with you both today on this important milestone for the AI portal. So with that, I will start with the first question to Debjani. Debjani, according to a McKinsey report, countries fall into 4 groups in AI readiness. India was in the 3rd group, which is described as economies with a moderate ability to capture economic benefits from AI. How do you think we can ensure we gain more benefits from AI adoption on par with other world leaders?
First of all, Asna, let me take a minute and congratulate all of you. Abhishek, Vinay, the entire team at in MIT, and of course the entire team in NASSCOM, so ably led by you. To me, INDIAai is not just a portal, it's like a movement that's driving the AI charter in India. And I think you guys are all doing such a fabulous job. And my congratulations and also my gratitude to everyone who has now become part of the ecosystem as mentors, contributors. So, and I can't believe it's already 2 years. It's amazing how time flies. Going back to your question, I've read the report. I honestly believe that India is poised to be one of the countries that will not just benefit the most out of AI, but will also show the world what the best use of technologies like AI for problem solving. I absolutely believe that. And I believe that for a few reasons. One, in order to leverage the best out of a technology like AI, you have to start with the problem. Do you have a big enough problem to solve? I think we have some tremendously challenging problems to solve for in India. And when we solve for them in India, we will solve for them for the world. Whether it is water crisis, whether it's energy crisis, food crisis, the entire challenge of inclusion and diversity, and I'm not talking gender here, but just broadly. I mean, there are just so many big problems for us to apply our minds to. Second, you need talent. India today, unquestionably, is the talent hub for AI. There's survey after survey which calls that out. We have the talent that is fueling the innovation in AI globally. We have to figure out how do we leverage this talent to fuel the innovation for India. And I don't think that's impossible. I think that creatively challenges us as government and industry to think a bit differently. Then you need the data. Again, as India, we generate a lot of data. We are home to a lot of data. I think what is needed and what the government is now working on is a data utilization framework and strategy that makes quality data easily accessible while you have the guardrails of security and privacy in place. And I think that is work in progress. But the moment that gets cracked, I think it's going to open the floodgates with respect to what our startups and companies can do with AI. I think there are two areas that India seriously has an advantage and can lead the world, which is creating more trust in AI. I think this is the need of the hour. This is going to be extremely important for mainstreaming AI or for deploying AI and scale. You have to trust it, and this is where explainable AI becomes a priority. And there's lots of different definitions, confusing definitions about explainable AI. To me, it's a very simple set of processes that makes it easier for human users to basically understand how the system works or how AI achieves the results that it does achieve. So, for example, just making algorithms open and explainable, so that we know how they arrive at certain decisions. This is what builds trust. This is what takes away the biases and the questions of fairness, transparency that's often associated with AI in a lot of the Western countries. I do believe that India has a tremendous opportunity to not just deploy AI at scale, but to show how it is done right. And lastly, I think we can absolutely take the lead with respect to R&D to make AI easy to use. For example, we have so many different languages in India. We have a large percentage of the population that may not be comfortable reading and writing. So how do we really scale up R&D in areas like NLP, computer vision, to make AI much more intuitive and real so that everyone can use it? So I actually see opportunities more than challenges ahead of us. I absolutely think that where we are poised today with respect to talent, with respect to the challenges that we face, with respect to, while for others, maybe inclusion is good to do, for India, inclusion is a must do. And I think that's one of our biggest advantages, because whatever we do, we have to think through inclusion right from start. And I think all of this actually sets us up to take a very strong leadership role in this decade.
That's a very good point that you've mentioned, particularly on trust and explainability and ensuring that there is a wider impact, and given the unique situation India is in. So Abhishek ji, this question for you: if India's AI motto has been responsible AI for social empowerment, so how do you think we can ensure that these technologies will definitely make a positive impact in the life of a common man, and probably with a few examples that you're aware of as part of the government?
Yeah, thank you, Asna. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate you and the entire team for a stupendous 2 years. And in fact, we really feel proud that INDIAai has become the go-to place whenever anyone in the world is looking for anything that India is doing in the field of AI, looking for research papers, content, looking for startups, looking for connections, and looking for guidance. So great work, and wish that you guys continue to do so, because India is a very important cornerstone, important pillar in our overall AI implementation strategy. As you rightly said, responsible AI has been our mantra. Responsible AI has been our focus area. And when we talk of responsible AI, the thought process behind that is that how can AI be used for the betterment of the common man? How can the AI be used for solving societal problems? How we can use it for benefiting people in the rural areas, farmers, students, in what ways we can. Today, we say all the time, whenever you are on YouTube or whenever you're on Netflix or using social media platforms, you are using AI, experiencing AI all the time. When you get those recommendations with regard to videos to watch, films to watch, or you may like to buy this. So can the same philosophy, can the same technology, can the same algorithms be adapted for, say, somebody who is learning on the Diksha platform? Because as we know, the Diksha platform and the Swayam platform, they have a lot of online lessons, online lectures there. and students go through them and they attempt tests on that. So if AI can be used for giving recommendations with regard to what they should be doing, what they should be learning, it can really, really beneficial. In fact, recently I was last month looking at a project which is implemented in Gujarat, which is on education analytics, the Shiksha Sangrachna Kendra, which was launched by Honorable Prime Minister also last month. Therein, what they are doing is that they are collecting data from ground below, and they are getting data right up to the granular level, wherein a student's learning outcomes is measured with regard to specific topics also. So not only we get to know whether a child is good in science or liberal arts, but we also get which topics in a particular subject he needs to work on, he needs to strengthen on. Like, for example, if there's an assessment test which is done in mathematics for a class 7 student, then whether he needs to focus on geometry, or whether he needs to focus on algebra, or whether he needs to focus on basic numerical calculations, that kind of insights come in. So based on that, and once we have access to that kind of data, if we can have recommendations with regard to what lessons he should study, so that would really, really improve learning outcomes. The application of AI for improving education can be huge. Similar things can be there in skilling, like how do you upskill people? How do you ensure that people get recommendations with regard to what they should learn? When you look at agriculture and healthcare, we have seen several solutions across the country, how we can detect diseases by using images of that. Tamil Nadu, in fact, did a very interesting project called eParvai, in which they were detecting cataract using images of eyes. And that kind of enables access to quality healthcare, because not everyone is able to go to a specialist to get themselves tested. Similar solutions have been tried for diabetic retinopathy, for breast cancer, for tuberculosis. When we come to agriculture, we have seen solutions wherein AI algorithms are used to give advisories to farmers. In fact, in one of the COEs that we have implemented, NASSCOM in Bangalore, I saw a startup which had developed a solution wherein soil sensors are there in the fields of farmers, and which measures the moisture content. It matches with the weather data that comes from IMD and the crop which is sown, and calculates the water requirement that the crop has. And on a mobile app of the farmer, he gets an alert that whether he should operate the submersible pump for 2 hours or 3 hours. So it translates into an actionable item. And so that becomes like a very useful application of data analytics and AI, which results in tangible benefits of the farmer in he being able to conserve electricity, he being able to conserve water, and get better yields of his crop. Similarly, there are other solutions which we are using. In GSTN is using a lot of AI for protection. GEM is using a lot of AI for recommendations, other solutions. So while all these solutions have been built in, and they all focus on responsible AI, on using AI for societal good, all that we need to do is that how do we scale it up? How do we make it more ubiquitous? How do we ensure that the pilots that have been done for healthcare diagnosis or agriculture field become more spread out, more and more states adopt it, more and more users adopt it, and then we'll be able to actually say that responsible AI has arrived. And once we are able to do that, the startups and the governments which have built these solutions, they can actually offer it as a larger digital public good. So I feel there is a lot that has been done, but there's a lot more that needs to be done. There's a lot more that we need to do together for enabling adoption of responsible AI.
Sure. Can't agree more, Abhishek Singh, with you on this, that this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what is possible in India, particularly the scale that is possible in India. So as we're talking about, and we're veering towards responsible AI, applications of AI and responsible AI in itself, there has been a 2018 simulation on the future AI economy that noted that AI might widen gaps between countries. And I know, Debjani, you addressed that India is poised to really lift up the bottom of the pyramid with AI in it. But just addressing what was highlighted there was that developed countries could capture an additional 20 to 25% in net economic benefits from it, whereas developing countries can only capture about 5 to 15%. In your view, how do you think we can address this gap in India, especially with the large rural population that we have with limited access to resources?
First of all, Asna, I don't think AI widens the gap. I think humans do, based on how we use technologies like AI. And this is where you have to have a set of, I'm a strong believer that not just for AI, but for emerging tech, we need a very clear set of design principles that everyone agrees to, the world agrees to, and can't be just India or any one country. This is where government, industry, and this is where you really need cooperation across the globe to say these are the design principles. And as we debate the design principles, the two core building blocks that I know has to be an integral part of it are inclusion and security. They have to be built into the design principle for emerging tech and cannot be an afterthought. Right. And I think if we can come to some kind of an understanding, and I would love to see India take the lead in developing this global framework for what should be the design principles for inclusive use of technology or AI. I think as we build this out, this will force or ensure that as we are developing newer technologies, leveraging AI as a foundational technology. For example, let's talk about metaverse or some of the other technologies that there's a lot of hype about right now. Are we thinking about inclusion and security right from start? Are we ensured as we are building out the thought process around these technologies, is it only going to impact a small group of people who will have access to AR, VR, and all the latest technology and not the rest? And is that the right thing to do? I mean, this is the decade where we have to solve for some of the big problems of inclusion, climate change, etc. Time is running out. So I think this is where we really have to make innovation count. Inclusion and innovation in my books has to just go hand in hand. Now, as India, I think we are one of the biggest proponents or champions of inclusive tech. I mean, look at Aadhaar, look at UPI. We have the largest financial inclusion program in India, which is Jan Dhan, and the way it has reached out and created millions of new bank accounts and got people into the fold of financial inclusion. Or even COVID, or any of the digital goods platform. Look at MyGov and the way Abhishek and team reach out to like billions of people almost, and the role it played during COVID, just to ensure that we had the right information and we were not getting carried away by fake news, right? So I do believe that we have figured out how to build truly inclusive tech. We now have, I think it's our responsibility to ensure that we take the lead to take this conversation to the rest of the world, because it is extremely important that everybody plays by the same rule book when it comes to ethics, when it comes to inclusion and security. If we don't, yes, I definitely see a lot of problems ahead, but those problems are not thanks to AI, those problems are thanks to people and certain leaders who will want to do something that is only good for them and not the rest of the world.
Sure. So you've talked about COVID, you've talked about MyGov. So Abhishek ji, to you, how do you think we can leverage AI technologies such as conversational AI and voice-enabled services to improve service delivery, given that India is such a linguistically diverse country and such a vast one at that?
Yeah, in fact, conversational AI, as we know, is one of the most simplest ones, one of the most commonly used applications of AI. Because when there is so much of data and information available, how do you ensure that people are able to get to what they want in a very easy to access format? And this was the challenge we were grappling with, as they rightly mentioned, when the COVID struck 2 years back. And we were trying to see how do we communicate to people, and especially like if you rewind back to 2020, like words like quarantine and social distancing, they were not part of our dictionary. So we thought that it would require a massive communication exercise in order to ensure that all the 1.3 billion people in India start understanding what it is. Then behavioral change, like how do you tell people about hand washing? What is 20 seconds of hand washing? How do you do that? So for that, we launched a massive communication exercise, and conversational AI played a big role in that. We built a chatbot on MyGov help desk with which people can query questions and get answers. People could get information with regard to where the helplines are. People go to get information with regard to lockdowns, with regard to what is open, what is not open, what is allowed, what to do, where to get help for various kinds of activities, how to get e-passes during that point of time. And when 2021 came and we started the vaccination, we again started giving information with regard to vaccination, like how to book your slots. So people are struggling to know, plus keep track of their vaccination certificates, because such a complex disease which requires vaccination of the whole country, and not only one vaccine but multiple vaccines with multiple difference of doses. Like many educated people forget that whether they took this vaccine A or vaccine B, and they would also forget whether you need to have a gap of 28 days or 84 days. So all those things are very dynamic. So if you put up a digital interface, you put up a digital platform like COWIN, but then again to disseminate information, not everybody is tech savvy that they will go to an app or they'll go to a portal and be able to do a login and get information. So what we try to do is that we replicated that interface on a WhatsApp chatbot interface using very simple AI algorithms that allow people to seek information, because WhatsApp is much more widely used in India and much more easily comprehensible by most people. Then the other aspect that comes to when we build conversational AI platform is that how do we make it multilingual? How do we ensure that the same thing is available in Tamil or a Malayalam or a Bengali? Because India is a diverse country, 22 official languages and multiple of other dialects. So it's very important to ensure that every content is made available using NLP tools in multiple languages. And there also use of AI becomes very, very important. The third major trend that I am seeing is that as we go ahead, as we have to onboard the next 500 million people, 500 million Indians onto the e-services, onto the internet, we will need voice-enabled services. So these are people who are not very proficient in using a keyboard or browsing or using an app. They would need to talk to an app. They would need to talk to a app like we do to Alexas and Siris. And if Alexas and Siris can find out answers and play music and do things for us, why can't it also help us track our driving licenses or birth certificates or get information with the public services? The similar interface we are building on the Umang platform, wherein all Umang services are going to be available through a chatbot and voice bot, wherein you could say, hey Umang, where can I get a B positive blood group? Then it will ask you which location you want, and it will take your location and they will give you the information. And the same solution, once it's enabled on voice, then instead of a smartphone, one can access these voice bot enabled services even on a toll-free number, wherein one could dial a toll-free number from a feature phone or a landline and get the services through voice enabled. And that would ensure that the people living at the bottom of the pyramid who do not have access to internet or who do not have access to connectivity or a smartphone or a computer can just pick up the phone, dial a number and get services. So that would be like true digital inclusion, and AI will play a big role in that. So that's the way we are planning to go. That's the way we are destined to go. And adding to that, also we are also working on a service discovery engine, because again what we have observed is that while multiple government departments are offering multiple services through their apps and portals, very often for a citizen it becomes very difficult to discover which department is offering service, or even if there is a service or not. So very simple, all the services the government departments offer are based on rules. So based on those rules, we are making a engine wherein you can key in your demographics, where place where you belong to, whether you are a farmer or a student or a businessman, and then the system will tell you are eligible for these many services, and then you can automatically apply for services. And once that is done, it will also lead to proactive delivery of services. The system should know, like if there is a beneficiary of Manrega scheme, or if there is a beneficiary of a BPL scheme, then the same beneficiary may also be a beneficiary of say health insurance program. So these services can be linked, and then using data analytics, using AI based suggestive models, the system can suggest that yes, you are eligible for this particular scheme also. So this would ultimately help in better delivery of services, better access to services, and true use of AI for social betterment.
Wow. So voice-enabled services, service discovery, and all of these host of benefits that can be transferred to the bottom of the pyramid. It's really very empowering for everybody. So thank you. I think this is very heartening to hear you talk about all of these initiatives at the government's end. For talking about AI literacy, and why particularly AI literacy is because INDIAai, the team has particularly been working on how do we help children, people who have no idea about what AI is, just get a very basic black box understanding of what it can do for them, just so as to prepare them not to be programmers or coders, but to also help them see what AI can do for them to their domain. So Debjani, just spoke of, not just coders and programmers, but others, including doctors, farmers, teachers, small business owners. How do you think they will be able to participate in AI and benefit from it?
Yeah, but before I do that, just a quick one. You guys were talking about inclusive AI in AI. One of the best examples, and Abhishek, I think you and I talked about this, I've seen is on your INDIAai portal. I saw this lovely video of a very young girl who has used AI so that if someone's using sign language, the other person who doesn't understand sign language can actually understand what the person is saying. With the use of AI. And to me, that was just such a simple but such a brilliant use case of how AI can be used to actually make it much more inclusive for everyone and break down the gaps that we have. So it was just one of the brilliant stories that I found on INDIAai portal. In today's world, coming back to your question, I think in today's world, and Abhishek talked about this, all of us are using AI in some way or the other, whether it's our shopping experiences on Amazon or whichever e-commerce portal you're using, or the way we watch movies on whatever your OTP platform is. All of us are using AI. And I think as AI and technology gets more and more weaved into every aspect of our life, it's also important for us to know where it is being used and how can we get the most out of its usage. For example, as a doctor, what we are seeing in the medical field is AI is taking over the repetitive tasks that a doctor needs to spend a lot of her time on, and actually freeing up her time so she can spend it with patients. She can spend it doing what she's supposed to do, which is provide care to patients, provide her time to patients. And she doesn't have to spend a whole lot of time going through paperwork and, checking out the results, etc., because all of that AI is extremely well equipped to do. So I think AI, if used well, can do the one thing which all of us struggle with, which is give us back our time to do more of the human-centric jobs that we are absolutely struggle today to find time to do, and we should be doing. But in order for us to get to that stage, we have to understand how to leverage it, where can we use AI, etc. So three things. One, I think it has to start at the school level. And I'm very happy that CBSE and so many other boards are actually looking at bringing in AI into the curriculum. Just two observations on that. One, it should not be just about theory, because even if you learn the perfect definition of AI, it's not going to help you. You have to learn about technology by using technology. And I get very worried when I hear about all the hype about coding and how coding is going to make you an instant billionaire. It's not. But coding is going to give you your secret power, superpower, which is the ability to solve problems. And I think we have to focus on creating generations of problem solvers, because that's what we really need, where they're able to use technologies like AI or coding to actually, coding is one of the most effective tools to help you solve a problem. So that's the passion for problem solving, and therefore the passion for coding is what need to get built into the system in education. but even if that has not happened, you finished your education system and you're practicing today, there are ways to understand foundation and usage. One of the initiatives that we as NASSCOM are driving with Mighty is Future Skills Prime, which is a national skilling platform to enable people, both working in IT and those who are not working in IT, to get an understanding of newer technologies and build their foundational knowledge. So and there are various other platforms. So I would encourage people that if whatever it is you're doing today, doctor, lawyer, whatever it is that your profession is, AI will touch your profession. It will disrupt your profession. It will disrupt a lot of processes. And if you know how to use it, it'll benefit you tremendously. It'll give you back time that you can use to go deeper into your work. But it is important for you to know. So if you are a practicing professional today, please invest the time to get skilled. Get skilled on foundation. You don't have to learn how to code unless you want to. By the way, I learned how to code in the last few years, and I am absolutely hooked onto it, because if you like problem solving, that's the best tool that you can have. And then lastly, we also have to figure out how to leverage some of the emerging technologies like low code AI, no code AI, because it is going to democratize AI if used right. And as a country, I think there's so much we can do to mainstream these emerging technologies so they can help every professional, every company, every professional to figure out at least the basics with respect to how to build out some of their processes and applications without having to spend years and years of learning how to create the perfect algorithm. So I think start the skilling early, but today, if you are a professional, at least log on to some of these platforms like Future Skills and get yourself skilled on foundational. INDIAai portal is a fabulous platform for you to see how AI is transforming your sector. You'll read case studies, you'll hear examples, etc., and leverage some of the emerging technologies which are democratizing AI.
Thank you, Debjani. Just want to mention, I really loved how you use the other pronoun for the doctor. If this is getting transcribed somewhere, you're slowly training the AI.
Absolutely.
Yes. Now with that, my last question is to Abhishek Singh ji. It is about challenges that you foresee for AI and how your ideas on how we can address those. We know that India, being linguistically diverse, language corpus is something that we are in the process of developing towards language technology. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you. In fact, most of the points have been addressed by Debjani, but I would just add, go to a few points that I feel are the real challenges as well as an opportunity for us as a nation. The first and biggest point is, of course, data. Like, how do we see that the data that the government holds? Because very often with the digitization over the last few years, we have humongous amount of data. How do we ensure that the non-personal data from the data the government holds with regard to various domains is made available to stakeholders, not only within the government, but researchers and entrepreneurs and startups, so that they can use it to build future-ready solutions? And how this can be done? Very simple example. Like today, we keep on hearing about startups planning 10-minute deliveries. But when you're doing that, the key data point that you will need is what are the location of various traffic points, what are the time duration where the traffic points are there, how many speed breakers are there, where the speed breakers are located, and all this data is available with some government entity or something, and it's non-personal. So if it is made available to the entire ecosystem, somebody can design an AI-based system which will ensure that the delivery times are optimized. Similar things can be there with regard to data at the aggregate layer with regard to incidence of diseases. The National Health Authority is implementing a digital health mission, and it will bring in the electronic health records. And when all patient data is digitized, then we should be able to get an alert if there is a particular disease which is like showing up in greater numbers in any part of the country, and then proactive action can be taken to correct that. So again, that would depend on data sharing and ensuring the data is accessible. So towards this objective, we did come up with a data governance and sharing framework and policy, which has been put up on our website for comments for the next 2 weeks. And once that policy is in place, we will be seeing a greater availability of data, greater access to data, and more economic value of data that can be done. And this will help all AI researchers and all AI startups in doing that. Of course, a lot of another challenge that we face is building capacities within government, because very often the government departments that hold data, they do not have data management units, or they do not have skilled people which can help them in using anonymization tools or privacy preservation tools before they put out data in the public domain. So the data governance and framework policy also seeks to establish an India Data Management Office, as also data management units, along with laying down standards, metadata standards, as also guidelines and SOPs for sharing data and using all the tools that are required for anonymizing data. So those two aspects, the data sharing as well as capacity building, are two key challenges. The other issues that are there, of course, is building awareness and making people aware about what are the risks which are there when you are using a technology, in what ways one should stay secure, in what ways one should share what kind of information that is there, in order to ensure that we are able to push forward ethical use of AI, ethical use of data sharing, and not land up citizens in any kind of problem, or which results in any kind of loss. So that becomes awareness, and communications also becomes a very important aspect. And the fourth item on which we need to focus, that I would like to mention, is research in AI. While India is regarded very highly with regard to the AI skilled manpower that we have, as also AI startups that we have, but the amount of research that is happening in our institutions, we need to push forward that. There have been certain initiatives that have been taken by the government, especially with the technology innovation hubs set up by Department of Science and Technology and the Vishwasariya PhD scheme. But we need to push the envelope a little bit more, so that we are able to set up the right research environment along with compute infrastructure in order to push forward AI applications. So these are the few challenges that I would like to mention in order to ensure that we are able to rightfully occupy our place as an AI superpower, as an AI emerging nation.
Thank you, Abhishek. Hearing you talk about everything that the government is doing is very, it is very inspiring, and to know that there are so many initiatives at work that the people are just finding out about. It's just very inspiring. And Debjani, for you to hear you be very positive about what is possible with India, and not seeing challenges as challenges but as opportunities. I think it's a treat to hear you speak on those topics. Thank you both very much for being part of this. It was a pleasure talking to you about all the AI related possibilities for India. Thank you.
Thank you, Asna, and congratulations once again.
Thank you. And with that, I hand it over to Jibu.
Thank you, Asna. And I would also like to just mention that I would also like to thank the participants who are there, and some of the suggestions on the chat box are very interesting. We'll definitely be noting them and working on them. Thank you. Thank you all.
The level of participation is an indication of how much they want to hear you speak. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Abhishek Singh sir and Debjani ma'am, for that insightful and incredible conversation. And thank you, Asna, for the wonderful moderation. Now, as we, unfortunately, we reached the conclusion of the event today, and I request Ms. Sangeetha Gupta, Senior Vice President and Chief Strategy Officer of NASSCOM, to offer her a vote of thanks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Jibu, and what an inspirational comments and conversation with Asna and Abhishek and Debjani. I think I truly enjoyed every little bit of insight and continue to learn from that. I think it's 2 years for INDIAai, but it still feels we're still getting started. Every time we have a conversation with the team, we're always looking at saying what more we can do. And I think in these 2 years, a lot of effort. I've never seen a more passionate team, even within NASSCOM, who is so keen to say, okay, tell us, let's work together and say what more needs to be done. The whole AI literacy book is, I think, Jibu's personal passion of love, where he's gone into these schools, taught, seen what is needed to be done, worked with the designer to make all that happen. But I really want to compliment the team at NEGD, particularly Brahmananji, who's been almost a part of our team, not almost, he's a part of our team in making sure that we can run the AI Pe Charcha programs, make sure there's constant activity, advise us on what is the right thing to do. Vinay ji and Abhishek Singh ji for his guidance and support. And of course, all our community participants who have provided us information during this year. We've opened this up for curated, user content, user generated content. We've got a lot of interest from people. Of course, we filter it for an editorial level. So for all the people on this webinar, please do feel free to write to us, to contribute to India AI. We'd love to hear your suggestions, your perspectives, your comments as we move forward. Lastly, I think there's just so much more to do and so much more to learn. So thank you all for joining in, and look forward to all of you visiting INDIAai on a more regular basis.
Thank you very much, Sangeetha ma'am. And before we conclude, I want to express my gratitude for Brahmanandji also. He's been the silent, invisible person managing the whole event. Thank you very much, Brahmanandji, who's a part of our team as well. So thank you everyone for joining us today and for supporting INDIAai and being the part of INDIAai community. And let's hope we will be able to catch up soon. And for everything we have discussed here, to see the articles, the link to the report, the booklet, you can find everything at indiaai.gov.in. And wishing you all a very good day. Thank you all.